My grandmother's house sold on a Thursday. I know this because I was sitting in a quarterly budget review when my phone lit up with a number I didn't recognize, and something in my gut told me to step out. It was an escrow officer named Gwen calling to confirm wire instructions. "I'm sorry," I said, standing in the hallway outside the conference room, my voice dropping to a whisper. "Wire instructions for what?" "The sale of 4412 Birchwood Drive," she said, like I should already know this. "The proceeds are scheduled to transfer tomorrow morning. We just need to confirm the receiving account on file matches what your brother provided. My grandmother had been dead for 6 weeks. The house had been in her name, then supposedly held in trust. I was named as a co-trustee. Nobody had called me. Nobody had sent me a single document. And my brother had apparently just sold my grandmother's home and was about to wire the money somewhere I had never authorized. I told Gwen I would call her back. I walked into the bathroom, locked the stall door, and sat on the lid of the toilet with my hands in my lap, staring at the grout between the tiles. I need to back up. My grandmother, Grammy, we called her, though she hated it, raised me in a way that my parents technically did not. My mom was around, but she was the kind of present that counts bodies and not much else. She showed up to school plays and called that enough. My dad left when I was 9 and came back when he needed something, which was the pattern for the next 20 years. My brother Theo was 5 years older than me, and the sun rose and set on him in our house. He was the first grandchild, the first son, the one my grandmother took on weekend fishing trips and taught to drive. I was the one she taught to balance a checkbook. I used to resent that. Now, I think it was the greatest gift she ever gave me. Grammy died in March, a Tuesday, during a late snowstorm that knocked the power out for most of the county. She was 81, sharp until the end, and the last thing she said to me when I visited the week before was, "Wren, don't let them be stupid with the house." My name is Wren. I am 31 years old. I am a licensed CPA at a mid-size firm in Columbus, Ohio. I have a savings account, a retirement account, and a small investment portfolio that I built myself over 8 years of eating lunch at my desk and saying no to things I couldn't afford. Nobody gave me any of it. Grammy left a trust. She had set it up 4 years before she died with the help of a real estate attorney, a woman named Gail, who I had met once at a Christmas party and remembered because she drank sparkling water and asked me very precise questions about my career. The trust named Theo and me as co-trustees, with the instruction that the house was to be sold and the proceeds split equally between us, our mom, and 2 cousins who Grammy was close to. I had a copy of the trust document. I had read it. I understood it. I thought Theo had too. After Grammy died, Theo appointed himself unofficial project manager of the estate. He texted me things like, "The estate attorney says we should list by May," and "I talked to a realtor, she thinks 380 is fair." I responded, asked questions, said I wanted to be looped in on every decision. He said, of course. He sent me a listing agreement to review. I reviewed it and sent it back with 2 notes. He said, great. He said the realtor was amazing. What he did not say was that he had opened a separate bank account 2 weeks after Grammy died. What he did not say was that he had updated the wire instructions with the escrow company to route to that account. What he did not say was that he had signed my name on an amendment to the sale authorization, an amendment that removed my co-trustee approval requirement by claiming I had given verbal consent. I did not find any of this out until Gwen called. I sat in that bathroom stall for 4 minutes. Then I walked back to my desk, closed my laptop, and told my manager I had a family emergency. She looked at my face and didn't ask any questions. In my car in the parking garage, I called the escrow company back. Gwen was patient and professional, but I could hear the slight shift in her voice when I told her I had never authorized anything. She put me on hold. She came back and said she would need to flag the transaction for review. She gave me the name of her supervisor. She said the wire had not gone out yet, that it was scheduled for 9 a.m. the following morning. It was 2047 p.m. I called Gail, the trust attorney, got her voicemail, left a message that I kept very calm and very specific. There is a potential unauthorized transaction involving the trust. I need to speak with you today. Please call me as soon as you can. I left my number twice. Then I sat in my car and thought about what Theo had done, step by step. The way I would think through a balance sheet that wasn't adding up. He had sold Grammy's house. That part was legitimate. We had agreed on it. The trust directed it. But he had rerouted the proceeds. He had forged my signature. He had cut out the other beneficiaries, our mom, our cousins, by routing everything to an account only he controlled. He had been planning this, quietly, for at least 6 weeks, while I was showing up to the estate walkthrough and asking about the HVAC inspection and trusting him because he was my brother and we had the same grandmother and she had just died, and I did not want to believe that grief could coexist with that level of premeditation, but it could. It does. I know that now. My phone rang at 4:11 p.m. It was Theo. I let it go to voicemail. He didn't leave one. He called again at 40:14, then 40:19, then 40:23. Then he texted, "Hey, did you talk to the escrow lady? Call me." I did not call him. At 40:47, Gail called me back. She listened to everything I said without interrupting. When I finished, there was a silence that lasted about 3 seconds. Then she said, "I need you to email me everything you have. The listing agreement, your copy of the trust, any texts from your brother about the sale. Can you do that in the next hour?" I said yes. "Don't contact your brother," she said. "Don't confirm or deny anything to anyone in the family tonight. I'm going to call the escrow company directly." She hung up. I sat in that parking garage until the fluorescent lights buzzed on overhead and the evening shift started filtering in. I sent Gail every document I had. I forwarded every text thread between me and Theo from the past 6 weeks, which I had because I'm a CPA and I keep records of things the way other people keep houseplants. Compulsively, and because it makes me feel safer. By the time I got home, the wire had been frozen. Here's the part I did not expect. The part that hollowed me out in a different way than the fraud did. My mom called at 8:16 that night. I almost didn't answer. But I thought she might not know what Theo had done. I thought she might be calling about something else. Condolence calls from distant relatives. Logistics, the way she sometimes did. I answered. "Wren," she said. Her voice was tight and careful. "Theo says you're causing problems with the house sale." I set down the glass of water I was holding. Set it down very deliberately on the kitchen counter, the way you put something down when you're deciding whether to throw it. "Mom," I said, "do you know what he did? I know you called the escrow company and froze the money. His wife just had a baby, Wren. He forged my signature," I said. "He rerouted trust proceeds to an account nobody else can access. He cut you out too, Mom. Did he tell you that?" Silence. "He said it was a temporary thing," she said, quieter now. "He said it was a temporary thing," she said, quieter now. "He said he was going to sort it all out after." "What?" "After the money was gone." More silence. "He's your brother," she said, finally, and I heard it in her voice. Not cruelty exactly, but the familiar closing off, the decision to not see the thing clearly because seeing it would require her to do something about it. She had been making that decision my entire life, about my dad, about Theo, about anything that required choosing discomfort over peace. "I know he's my brother," I said. "I'm still reporting it." She hung up. I went to bed at midnight and stared at the ceiling until 2 a.m. The thing about being the responsible one is that it doesn't protect you from grief. It just makes you better at functioning inside it. Gail called me at 8:33 the next morning. The wire had not gone out. Escrow had placed a full hold on the transaction pending trustee verification. She had drafted an emergency letter to the probate court documenting the unauthorized amendment, the forged signature, and the rerouted account. She advised me to file a police report. "Today," she said. "This morning if possible." "Will they take it seriously?" I asked. "Forging a co-trustee's signature on a trust document to redirect estate funds is wire fraud," she said simply. "Yes, they'll take it seriously." I drove to the police station on my lunch break. The officer I spoke to was a woman about my mother's age, with reading glasses on a beaded chain and a yellow legal pad. I told her everything in the order it happened. She wrote it all down. She asked me twice to confirm the dollar amount. The house had sold for $391,000, meaning the rerouted wire would have been $391,000 minus closing costs, going to a single account. She looked up from her pad. "And you found out because the escrow company called to confirm?" she asked. "Yes. If they hadn't called, it would have been gone." She nodded slowly. "Do you have a copy of the trust document with you?" I had brought a folder. I always bring a folder. By the time I left the station, I had a case number. By end of day, I had a call from a detective. By the following Monday, Theo had been contacted. He called me 17 times that day. Not a round number. 17, because that's how panic actually works. It doesn't stop at 15 and call it even. I let every call go to voicemail. I read the texts only because Gail had told me to screenshot and preserve everything. The texts went like this. Hey, call me. Wren, this is serious. I made a mistake, okay? It was for the baby. You don't understand the pressure. Mom said you won't listen. I just needed to borrow it. I was going to pay everyone back. You're destroying this family. Grammy would be ashamed of you. That last one sat in my chest like a stone. I want to be honest about something. I have told this story to a few people since it happened. A friend, a therapist I started seeing in April, my cousin who was one of the beneficiaries Theo had cut out. And every time I get to the Grammy would be ashamed of you part, someone says, that must have been so hard to read. And I always say yes, and I mean it. It was hard. It landed exactly where he meant it to land. But I kept going back to what she actually said to me. That last Tuesday, with the snow coming down and the power flickering. Don't let them be stupid with the house, Wren. She knew. She had seen this family for 81 years, and she knew who would be stupid and who would not let them. She trusted me with the checkbook. She trusted me with the checkbook. She trusted me with the trust. She trusted me to do the thing everyone else would find too uncomfortable to do. That's not shame. That's instruction. The probate court hearing was in June. Theo showed up with a private attorney and a look on his face I had never seen from him. Pale, diminished. The particular expression of someone who had spent their whole life in the warm pocket of being the favored one and had just stepped outside for the first time. The judge reviewed the documents. She was efficient and gave nothing away in her face. She asked Theo's attorney 2 questions. She asked me one question, which was whether I had any objection to the original trust distribution proceeding as written, with all 5 named beneficiaries receiving their equal share. I said no objection. She ordered the distribution to proceed under court supervision. She referred the matter of the forged signature to the district attorney's office. I have not spoken to Theo since that morning in the courtroom. I have not spoken to my mother since the night she hung up on me. I got a text from one of my cousins the week after the hearing that said only, "Thank you." I responded with a heart and didn't have the energy for more than that. The money came through in July. My share and my mom's share and both cousins' shares, all distributed correctly, all documented, all supervised. I put mine in a high-yield savings account. I sat at my kitchen table with the confirmation email and a cup of coffee and looked at the number on the screen for a long time. Grammy had wanted us to have a foundation, something to build from, a place to stand. I thought about what it cost to protect that, the nights I didn't sleep, the phone calls I didn't take, the text that said Grammy would be ashamed of you, which I still think about sometimes, more than I want to admit. But she wouldn't. I know she wouldn't. Because she raised me to balance the books. She raised me to keep records. She raised me to know the difference between love and leverage, even when the people using leverage are the same people who are supposed to love you. I keep the trust document in a manila folder in my filing cabinet, behind a tab labeled ESTAT. Gail sent me a final bill with a note at the bottom in small handwriting. Well done. I framed it. It's hanging in my home office next to my CPA license. My coffee that morning in July was black. It tasted like something ending and something else. Very quietly, beginning. 6 months later, I got an email from the DA's office notifying me that a plea agreement had been reached. I read it once. I filed it in the folder. I did not call anyone. Some chapters you close and you just leave them closed. I've thought a lot about what made Theo believe he could get away with it. And I don't think it was arrogance exactly. I think it was history. 31 years of watching me smooth things over, absorb the cost, keep the peace. 31 years of watching our family treat accountability like something that happened to other people. He didn't forge my signature because he was bold. He did it because he had never once seen a consequence land on someone in our family and stick. That's the thing nobody talks about when they talk about toxic family dynamics, the way the absence of consequences becomes its own kind of permission. Every time someone covered for Theo, every time my mom looked the other way, every time I quietly fixed something so the family wouldn't have to feel uncomfortable, we were all teaching him the same lesson. That the rules applied to everyone except him. That love meant absorption. That I would always catch the fall. What changed wasn't me, really. What changed was that I finally understood what Grammy had actually handed me. Not just a co-trustee role. Not just a legal responsibility. She handed me the one thing that had been missing from every difficult moment in our family's history. A record. Documentation. Numbers that don't lie and dates that don't shift based on who's telling the story. She raised me to work with facts, and when it mattered most, facts were the only thing that saved us both. I used to feel guilty about being the one who kept score. My mom used to say it like an accusation. You always have to make everything so official, Wren. But official is what protected Grammy's wishes. Official is what got my cousins their share. Official is what stopped $391,000 from disappearing into an account I never knew existed. Being careful is not the same as being cold. Keeping records is not the same as being unforgiving. Those two things got tangled up in my head for a long time, and untangling them was harder than any part of the legal process. Theo made his choices one at a time, each one small enough to feel justifiable in the moment. A separate bank account, a quiet amendment, a forged signature, a story he told himself about borrowing and paying back. That's how most betrayals actually work. Not one catastrophic decision, but a long sequence of smaller ones, each one making the next easier. And the person who gets hurt is usually the one who trusted too much, for too long, because trust felt like the right thing to do. I don't regret trusting him. I regret not verifying. Those are different things, and the difference matters. What I know now is this. Integrity isn't just about what you do when people are watching. It's about what you do with access. Theo had access to the estate, to the timeline, to my name on a document, and he used it to take. I had access to the truth, to the legal system, to every text message he had ever sent me. I used it to protect what Grammy built. She balanced her own books until she was 81 years old. She didn't need anyone to manage her life for her. She just needed someone after she was gone who would do the same. I'd like to think I was that person. I like to think the coffee tasted like something she would have approved of.